Denver, one of our regulars. Thank you for joining us, Denver. I think it's an absolute joke that SVG's getting flagged from fans for tearing up the NASCAR Cup Series field. It's a clear indication that NASCAR Cup field needs to step up their game on road courses. If Will Brown, Brock Finney won both Xfinity Cups in Chicago, it will be a clear indictment of both fields and skills on the road courses. Now, Tanner Matthew, this reminds me of comments by Richard Petty, I believe it was this week, saying that NASCAR is not road course racing. And I understand when you look at NASCAR, the history has been you go to the short track in your southeast, your local area, oval racing. But I gotta say, I feel like now this new breed of NASCAR, where it's like, okay, you have your short track, you have your medium, half mile, half ovals, the super speedways. I feel road courses are now an integral part of that season, whether it's the natural road courses. There's the rumor of, okay, if we're not in Chicago next year, it might be in San Diego or Philadelphia, completely opposite sides of the country. Even the Xfinity Series, we know they've done Mexico before. They got Portland, Road America, more frequent than the Cup Series. So overall, do you feel this is something where the Cup Series drivers, granted, they are, I think, at least taking this a lot more, they're in the simulators and everything, but do you agree with sort of that statement that some of these fans ripping on SVG for dominating? Tanner, I'll start with you on that one.
The first thing I want to do is address Richard Petty's comments, and they come from a place for him because he grew up in a time where we ran 100-mile races on a quarter-mile oval. So, like, I can kind of understand from his aspect that, like, road courses and us going into international markets and not on ovals kind of threatens the idea of NASCAR that he had when he was the top dog of the sport. Obviously, he was the king after all, and still is. But at the end of the day, NASCAR racing, as it is and as it lives, is a stock car sport. So if we put a stock car on anything, a street, dirt, ice, road course, any of that, it's a NASCAR track as far as I'm concerned. So I feel like this whole old fogey way of thinking is regressive and not pushing the sport forward. Granted, I don't think that we should lose the identity of the sport as an oval racing series like IndyCar has, but I also think that branching out into international markets is important, and doing that any way that you can while not sacrificing the racing product too much is ultimately a great thing for the sport. With all that said, to tackle what Denver said, and we appreciate you dropping your comment in the chat, I kind of agree. Like, the Cup Series drivers need to stop letting him absolutely whoop on them like he has been, as Matthew will likely say, putting belt to behind. So, yeah, I feel like it's definitely kind of low-hanging fruit to be, dunking on SVG's playoff berth from this, and I just find any comparison to Harrison Burton's win last year to be kind of laughable. We're talking about a guy that's already won a NASCAR Cup Series race on a road course. He's doing it again, whereas Harrison Burton in his 100th-ish start finally breaks through out of nowhere to win a race at a track that is renowned for jackpot winners. So I just think that comparing those two in itself is just kind of missing the point, for lack of a better way of saying it. I do think that the Cup Series drivers really need to harness their skills on the road courses, but at the same time, they aren't populous enough in the playoffs for drivers to really care about them. If, like last year, we had two of them in the last 10 races, that might galvanize them a bit more. But at the end of the day, I just feel like drivers are probably not going to prioritize it as much unless there is one in the round of 8. And frankly, I don't want to see the Roval there. And I don't think any of the other road courses stand a chance as, like, in terms of like the weather that time of year to host a race that late in the playoffs. So it kind of goes back to our Pocono question earlier and getting a second date. it just falls at such a bad time of year in the playoffs for most of these road courses that we have to host a date. So I just don't foresee that as possible. And until we get a road course deep into the playoffs, I just don't think most of the regulars are going to take it as seriously as they should.
Yeah. For me, I want to kind of do same order Tanner did. And I apologize, there's a thunderstorm rolling through. So if I keep lagging, I'm just going to blame the weather instead on my issues, not Spectrum. But for Richard Petty's comments, I get what he's saying, but at the same time, if I want to watch the same thing every week, I'll go tune in the Track TV at ASA National Tour where I can watch guys like Dawson Sutton, Ty Majeski, Gavin Bushell, George Phillips, another Toyota up-and-coming driver. If I want to watch the same thing every week, I'll go tune in that. Or I'll go to the Cars Tour on Flow Racing. I'll tune in to watch Landon Lewis or Connor Hall or one of those guys. This NASCAR is not what it was 75 years ago. It's not what it was 50 years ago, and it's not what it was 25 years ago. I appreciate the King. He's done wonderful things for the sport. But at the same time, you got to realize it's not the same quarter mile, half mile stuff it used to be where they were racing 3 times a week and stuff. It's different. NASCAR has the most diverse schedule in all of motorsport. I mean, you can argue, I guess, IndyCar too, right? Does ovals and stuff. But NASCAR is going from short track to super speedway to street course to an intermediate to then a actual road course. It's like, and it's the split is very fair too. I think 6 road courses, there's 36 races. So it's like you have the 6 there, you got 6 super speedway races, you have 6 short track or whatever you want to say. I think it's very well balanced. It's not 36 races of the same sort or 30 of the same short intermediate and then 6 super speedway. It's not like that anymore. So I'll tune if you want to watch the same thing every week. Spend $30 a month on Track TV or however much Flow Racing so you could watch the late model guys. That's just how I feel about that comment. But in terms of what Denver said, I appreciate with SVG and them. We even said Grid Network, if you guys have been here for along the journey, I've been here 3 years now, I believe. So thank you for that, Joe, obviously. Tanner's one of the newer ones, but we were covering SVG when he was doing belt to butt over in Australia, New Zealand area. So we knew that what was going to happen in Chicago. Everyone picked him for pick a winner. So we're ahead of the curve. He's obviously the grid ranking champion of 2022, I believe. And then even guys like Scott McLaughlin in IndyCar, we knew who he was prior to him going to IndyCar. He's been there a while, but still. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me one bit if Will Brown comes over, wins a race. Brock Feeney, I think he said his deal fell through, if I'm not mistaken. But still, he's another guy. I think he's his friend. Cam Waters is coming over. Cam Waters, I think, could win. Maybe if we get Chaz Mostert, maybe we get Brody Kostecki now in the Ford camp coming over. And now with some of the teams going to Toyota, I think we're going to be opening up more opportunities and then possibly a new manufacturer coming into the NASCAR. Exactly. Just more people. I love it. I love the idea of it. So for that, and then people crapping on SVG, sure, it's like he's 30, whatever in points. But like Tanner said, it's a lot different than Harrison Burton, who run the whole season, who's been in NASCAR his entire career, versus one of the greatest supercars drivers on Mount Rushmore over there, coming over, switching it up, and just every time you get on a road course, he's guaranteed a top 10 finish. So I think it's a lot different for that. And yeah, the guys got to up their game. SVG is just whether it's the technical braking, he just does it better. And he's learning a whole different thing. It's only his, third year in a car, second year in a car where they're on the other side of the car, if I'm not mistaken, using different paths. So it's like they got to catch up. They've been doing this a lot longer. And he said on one of the radio shows, I apologize for my voice gets higher when I'm ranting, but he said on one of the shows, it's like Justin Marks didn't sign him to come out and contend at short tracks or super speedways. Justin Marks signed him for 6 opportunities where he is the favorite there. What other drivers in the field besides maybe a Christopher Bell or a Kyle Larson or a William Byron that you can say confidently has the best chance of winning of the other 35 drivers at least 6 tracks? It's hard to say. So for us, I think it's a smart hire, and there's nothing stopping guys like RFK from going to try to get Cam Waters full time. There's nothing stopping a Chevrolet team like Spire from taking a chance on someone like Brock Feeney, like Will Brown, if they ever want to come over. So it's just one of those things. It's like, yes, I guess you can crap on him for being not as great at anything, but he's there to win a minimum of one race a year to get them into the playoffs and get them that extra financial boost to get them in the top 16. So he brings a sponsorship. Red Bull's back. Thank you. WeatherTech's here. That's awesome. So it's like, I don't know. Do you want SVG to what? Does he have to win an oval? Is that going to impress people? Does he have to come out and win an oval? Allmendinger never won on an oval in the Cup level, but he's after a while he learned and he won ovals in the Xfinity Series. So I don't. And Marcos Ambrose too, another one. But yeah, to end my rant, I kind of want to hear Joe and then Tanner. I think I want to hear from both of you guys again. It's like, what more do you want from SVG? He's there to do his job and he's doing it quite well. So I don't know.
Yeah, to just kind of, piggyback off of what Denver said in the chat after we rolled their first two comments, I think that even if SVG wins all of the road courses hypothetically for the rest of the regular season, he still has to get through Darlington, which granted might be his best oval, but he's still like barely a top 20 guy. He has to get through Gateway, which is a hard track to pass at, and Bristol, where we saw him fall out of the race because he wrecked himself racing Cody Ware for dead last. And I hate to be that blunt, but that's just what it is. Like, he has a very low chance of getting through the playoffs at this rate. With that said, I think that it's important to remember that we're talking about a rookie here. SVG just completed his 30th start in a Cup Series car and got his second win. Harrison Burton was on start 101, I believe, in his career and had been running ovals his entire life and could barely win one at Daytona, of all places. Not only that, if we're talking about like comparing SVG to another rookie that they could have given this car to, we already have that case study from last year in the 71 car with Zane Smith, which was powered by Trackhouse at Spire. Zane Smith, he is a great driver. I think that he is going to become a Cup winner at some point. But last year was not a banner year for that 71 team and his rookie season. He had a few flashes of brilliance at Nashville, outlasting most of his more experienced competition to finish second in that 5 overtime nonsense. And then at Watkins Glen, where he finished 5th and was able to withstand the challenges again from more experienced drivers behind him. He was also very strong in Indianapolis, where had he not had to pit under caution there towards the end, would have come away with a top 5 finish. I just feel like if you're putting a rookie in a Cup Series car, the expectation should be that they learn and improve for the first year, maybe 2 years, and then they hopefully go out and win the third year. When you put SVG, a rookie, in a Cup car right now, the expectation is to win, and he has fulfilled that promise. Granted, you're punting on the possibility of winning a championship this year because he's just not quite ironed out on the ovals yet, but at the end of the day, getting them in the playoffs helps get that team funding for a few more years, helps them propel themselves forward, gives them data to go off of and build around for the next couple of years. And I think that really is more important than, kind of tinkering around with a true rookie at the Cup level right now. With all that said, I think that SVG, putting any rookie in the car is kind of punting on winning a championship that first year. But with SVG, at least you're giving yourself a shot to get in the playoffs and have a possibility of maybe making something happen. But you couldn't say that about Zane Smith last year, which, again, is no disrespect to him. It just is what it is.
And one of the big things, as you point out, 2 wins in 30 starts. Granted, road courses, the scenarios of first time at the track, it was wet. This is part of modern NASCAR. This is part of the rule package we know going in. You get a win, you're in the playoffs. Those bonuses for being in the playoffs for the charter team and all that, you could really build a team around that. And I think you look at what happened to Jenson Button. Comes here to do the road courses. Rick Ray Racing, granted with Stewart Haas support, we didn't see anything really from him. SVG, Project 91, goes out there and just wins it. And Jenson Button, I recall, spun around a couple times, including once near the entrance of the pit road where he almost got T-boned. So I mean, what he's doing is super impressive. I just think it just speaks to what Justin Marks is doing. He knows what he's doing. You go out there. We've only run 2 road courses, so we still have 4 more. Shane van Gisbergen gets 2 more wins. Guess what? 3 wins. He's now up there with the other drivers that have won 3 races each. That says a lot, and I would not be surprised if maybe another team decides in the future, hey, let's go for one of these supercar drivers. Let's go for a road course ace. Because, like you said, Matthew, 6 races, he is the favorite. I mean, DraftKings had him as a heavy favorite entering the weekend before qualifying even started before a practice lap, and he delivered. So, Shane van Gisbergen, always a threat to win. And we thank Denver for that comment, getting us onto this topic as well. And I see another comment from Denver where he says, Steve Letarte said it best. Let SVG in the second round playoff. Shame on the Cup drivers for not knocking him out with Roval in the second round.
Sure.
Very dangerous.
He didn't win there last year in the Xfinity Series, so I don't know if that's a foolproof plan, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Add a follow-up to that, guys, if you don't mind. So 2 things. One, I mean, if you put SVG, Michael McDowell, Daniel Suarez, Chase Briscoe, and Bubba Wallace, all of those guys have exactly 2 Cup wins. SVG did it in a lot less time. And I know there's a different thing. I think most of those guys have been around, maybe not in the best equipment or whatever, but still, it doesn't matter. But my theoretical question I kind of have is, we saw this once in recent memory, and it was with 2311 with Bubba Wallace and when Ty Gibbs inevitably had to take over for Kurt Busch. If SVG does not make the second round of the playoffs, and granted, I'm going to bring up Suarez in this situation. Suarez is having a terrible year too. He's 28th in points. He really just not a great year. Do you switch the 99 and 88 for 9 of the 10 playoff, or at least 7 of the playoff races besides the Roval for owner's points? Because is Suarez going to out-earn SVG everywhere besides maybe the Roval? So let's get through the first round. If SVG doesn't make the next round of the playoffs, do you swap the numbers? Because it's going to be worth more money. So that's just my theoretical. Do you think that happens? Or
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. A lot of it hinges on like how good is SVG on the ovals by the time the end of September rolls around. If he is pacing around Suarez, which I would doubt given the schedule towards the end of the season, because for Suarez, thankfully a lot of those tracks kind of lend to his skill set, especially the round of 8 being at Talladega, where he has had a number of strong runs in the past. But yeah, I think that those kind of moves are, though we have seen them in the past, are usually pretty unprecedented. So, I mean, it could happen. I wouldn't rule it out, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out yet. Just, I guess, a matter of how we see. Because, I mean, if Suarez is 28th in points and you got Shane van Gisbergen 30th now, all of a sudden, those two are much closer. So, plenty of time to see how that'll work out between those 2 drivers. But that is definitely something we'll be following